You wake slowly. There's no alarm, no bird song, no crackling fire, only a soft, impossible silence, like the world has been muffled. You try to breathe, but there's no need. The air is water now, cold, heavy, eternal. Light filters down from somewhere. Far above you, pale shafts that ripple and flicker like the last candle in a tomb. You're not sure if you're floating or sinking. Either way, you're not in control, which feels strangely peaceful around you. Stone pillars tilt like drunk philosophers. A row of columns slump sideways into the gloom, their tops lost to the haze of silt and time. Asterisk temples sit half buried in sand, there. Doors broken open like old mouths mid-sentence. No fish swim here. Just statues half buried, half remembered, staring up from their muddy sleep with the blank patience of the truly abandoned. There's a sphinx, cracked through the eye, a slab of granite that once said something important in 2 dead languages, and, farther off, a giant hand, marble and severed at the wrist, curled like it's still holding a torch no one will ever light again. This is where you are now, not a city. Not anymore, just Heracleion. Once it was loud, sacred, infested with priests, merchants, scribes, lovers, liars. Once it was the beating, swampy heart of the Egyptian coast. It collected taxes, it blessed ships, it buried secrets in scrolls that no one can read anymore. And now, it's still here, just quiet. You drift past a fallen statue of Hercules, still heroic beneath a fine coat of barnacles. He's been underwater longer than most civilizations last. His expression hasn't changed. Noble jaw, distant stare, but the gods feel smaller down here, and heavier. The water presses against your skin like silk, woven from gravity. Every movement stirs up little clouds of history. Silt, dust, powdered stone. You turn your head. A fish watches you from the mouth of a collapsed shrine. It blinks once, leaves. You are not interesting. No one is. A brittle papyrus scroll floats past your shoulder, like a forgotten receipt. A gold ring lies in the sand, perfectly still. You do not reach for it. You're not sure you could. You are a guest here, or maybe an offering. Above you, the surface is too far to matter. Below you, the city waits. Not for rescue, not for redemption, just to be remembered by someone who can still dream. The silence isn't empty. It hums, a low oceanic vibration that fills your ribs and reminds you this isn't sleep. Not really. You see a staircase leading nowhere, a broken statue of a pharaoh missing its nose, a row of amphorae stacked neatly in a cellar with no roof. Everything is still, not frozen, just done, like the city exhaled and never inhaled again. And here you are, a breath behind, a heartbeat too late. You reach down. The sand gives like memory, soft, shifting, willing to forget anything if you let it. This city didn't fall in fire. It didn't scream. It didn't burn. It just tilted, sank, slept. There was no final warning. No THUNDERCLAP. One day the floors were damp, then cracked, then gone. And no one noticed until it was too late to care. Now it's just pressure, ruin, and ghosts. Somewhere above, the world spins on, but Heracleion stays here, beneath it all, dreaming. In sand and salt, you don't speak. You don't move. There's no one to see you, no air to carry your voice. You simply float, a little quieter than before, and wonder how long you've been part of the city. It doesn't answer, but you feel the answer anyway. A long time, maybe always. You're not underwater anymore. Not yet. You're upright. More or less, and breathing air so thick, it might as well be soup. Welcome to Heracleion.alive.kind of. The city greets you with a chorus of temple bells, shouting merchants, and something wet slapping against wood in the distance. Could be a paddle, could be a fish, could be something else. You learn not to ask. The streets, if you can call them that, are more like damp alleyways paved with optimism and rotten planks. You walk them barefoot. Everyone does. Sandals are for nobles, priests, and people who don't step in fish. Guts for a living. The city smells like heat and fish and prayers. Incense curls from every corner shrine, desperately trying to mask the odor of unwashed bodies and yesterday's eel stew. It doesn't work, but it tries. That counts for something. The wood beneath your feet creaks with every step, like it's thinking very hard about collapsing. You ignore it. Everyone does. There's too much to do, too many gods to thank, too many taxes to dodge. To your left, a priest in leopard skin chants beneath a canopy of painted reeds. To your right, a fishmonger slaps something slimy onto a reed mat and yells a price that feels more like a threat. You walk between them, trying not to look too available to either. Above you, sun-bleached awnings. Below you, standing water. Around you, people, sweating, swearing, praying, selling. This is Heracleion to the Greeks, the city of Hercules, to the Egyptians, Thonos, an old port full of older gods. To you, just another day without falling into a canal. It's not land, exactly. It's not sea either. It's something in between, built on islands of silt and ambition, laced with canals, and stitched together with planks, rope, and whatever passed for zoning laws in 2nd century BC Egypt, which is to say, none. The city floats. Not literally, but close. Foundations, optional drainage, non-existent. Faith, mandatory. Everything is sacred, even the mud. They say Hercules came here once, which is why there's a temple with his name on it, and a statue so large it makes people feel small in ways religion never quite managed. They say Helen of Troy and Paris passed through before the war, possibly to rest, possibly to shop, possibly to commit treason. They say a lot of things, but you're just trying to find a dry place to sit and maybe eat something that doesn't smell fermented. There are no dry places, but there is fermented food. Lots of it. The canals are everywhere, brackish veins flowing between shops, homes, and temples. Boats glide past you, pushed along with poles and prayers, loaded with goods, oilcloth, sacred ibis, tax ledgers, grain, fish, more fish, the occasional dead body wrapped in linen and bureaucracy. Every dock is also a street. Every street is also a pier. Every pier is dangerously close to being swallowed by the sea. You pass a scribe's stall. He's writing contracts on papyrus with the same expression as a man digging his own grave. But slower. Further down, a perfume vendor dabs oils onto clay, discs, and assures a sweating noblewoman that it smells like lotus, not like pond rot. You're not convinced, but nobody asks. Your opinion here. The air is so humid it sticks to your skin like guilt. Your tunic is already damp and clinging in all the wrong places. You're too hot, too tired, too alive, and yet the city moves endlessly, crates carried on shoulders, offerings loaded onto barges, priests shouting invocations across the square, because no one taught them about indoor voices. There are gods everywhere. Amen. Isis, Serapis, all stacked atop each other like divine furniture. Their statues line the canals, their names carved into temple lintels and storage. Jars. Every household has a shrine. Every street corner has a deity. Most people hedge their bets and pray to at least 5 before breakfast. And the city believes it is blessed. It has trade. It has temples. It has taxes. Ships come from all over. Phoenicia, Crete, Nubia, even Rome. They offload spices, papyrus, tin, sacred animals. Gossip. Coins change hands. Contracts are signed. Gods are thanked, often noisily, and under all of it, the city sways just a little. It has always swayed. People say it's just the wind, or the tides, or divine favor. No. One mentions the silt. No one talks about the cracks in the wooden piers that never quite get fixed, or the doorways that lean more every year, or the stone slabs that sink ever so slightly into the marshy streets. The gods will keep it standing. The mud agrees. For now, you keep walking, stepping over a broken basket of spoiled dates. Someone curses, someone else laughs. A boat bumps softly into a pillar. The city breathes. You don't know it yet, but you're walking on a city already halfway gone. It just doesn't know it either. You're not a priest. You're not a chosen one. You're not even particularly clean. You're a temple servant, which is a poetic way of saying you carry things, sacred things, heavy things, sometimes very sticky things. You work for the gods, or, more accurately, you work for the men who claim to speak for them. The gods themselves haven't said much lately. The temple rises above the canals like a moldy wedding cake, tiered, ornate, and probably cursed. Its columns are covered in gold, leaf and pigeon droppings in roughly equal measure. Its ceilings are high enough to trap thunder. Its foundation creaks whenever someone breathes too hard. You enter through the servant's door, because of course you do. The stone is cool under your feet, briefly. Then you remember your sandals broke last week, and now the coolness is suspicious. Possibly mildew, possibly divine moisture, possibly rat urine. No one investigates too closely. Inside, the smell hits you like a sacred wall. Incense, mostly. Frankincense, myrrh, cinnamon bark, cedar resin, the good stuff, burning in great bronze basins. But beneath that, sweat, wet linen, boiled onions, and something you've come to recognize as holy damp. The temple is always humid. It's a swamp pretending to be a cathedral. The main hall stretches long and high, echoing with chants, murmurs, and occasional coughing fits. You try to move quietly, respectfully, reverently, but your foot slips on a smear of oil, and suddenly, amphora, you're carrying lists dangerously. You regain control, barely, a small mercy. Olive oil and sanctity do not mix well on limestone. The statue of Ammon stares down at you from the sanctuary. 10 feet of polished stone and absolute disinterest. You've cleaned that statue before. You know the curve of his chin, the dust that settles behind his ears. You've scrubbed his sandals more thoroughly than your own. You once sneezed, mid-polish. You've never known fear like that nearby. 2 senior priests are arguing over something that involves 7 scrolls and a very distressed goose. You're not allowed to interrupt. You're also not allowed to leave, so you stand there, respectfully, while one priest insists the moons Position means the ritual must be moved forward, and the other insists it means the moon has died, and the ritual must be cancelled entirely. The goose offers no opinion. You're eventually waved over to carry a tray of offerings, grapes, honey, wine, and something that used to be bread. You place it before a statue of Isis. She accepts it with the same expression she's worn for 700 years, patient disapproval. You try not to think about the ants already forming a parade line across the altar. Worship here is not quiet. There are drums. There are horns. There are 12-year-old acolytes with rattles and no rhythm. Worship is public, grand, and absolutely infested with mosquitoes. Asterisk, they bite through your robe, through your patience, through your soul. The gods get incense, wine. Song, you get foot rot. Your toes are red and itchy and possibly developing a second personality. You soak them in vinegar when you can find some. You also pray to the healing god, but he's been busy with more important infections lately. You mop the sacred floors with river water, which is an act of hope more than hygiene. You sweep pigeon feathers from the roof tiles. You light ceremonial fires, and try not to breathe too deeply. One time, someone left fish offerings too close to the main sanctuary. The smell took a full lunar cycle to leave, and yet there's something about the routine. Wake, bathe. Badly dress in linen, still damp from last night's rain. Enter the temple, bow to statues, polish the divine, avoid divine punishment, sleep on a mat that smells like burnt thyme and mold. It's humid. Yes, it's uncomfortable, deeply, but it's also sacred, kind of. There's a peace to the predictability. There's beauty in the chance, even if the same one has been repeating for 2 hours because someone forgot the verse change. Sometimes, in the late hours when the torches burn low and the priest has dozed off, mid-meditation, you sit beside the statue of Thoth, god of scribes and wisdom. You don't say anything. You just let the incense curl upward and pretend he's listening. He probably isn't, but it helps. Outside, the city sways gently on its foundations. You feel it in the floor, that slight, soft shift like standing in a boat, but no one talks about it. The priests say it's nothing. The engineers say it's divine design. You just keep scrubbing, because the gods deserved clean statues, and you deserve a night without mosquitoes in your ears. This is Heracleion, built on prayers and mud, and you are part of the staff that keeps the gods looking polished while everything underneath slowly, gently, relentlessly rots. It starts with the floorboards. One morning, you notice a tilt. Barely there, a slope where there wasn't one. The oil jar on the shrine of Isis rolls slightly to the left. You wedge a bit of folded linen under it and move on. Maybe the carpenters were tired. Maybe the gods are reclining. Nothing worth mentioning. Not yet, but then a doorway starts sticking. You push, it groans. You push harder. It opens, reluctantly, like a priest at dawn prayers. The wood is warped. The hinges damp. The threshold no longer level. You mention it. The high priest says, "It's the humidity." You nod. Everything is the humidity. A week later, the threshold is underwater. The temple still stands, more or less, but it leans now, not dramatically, just enough that you have to adjust how you walk so you don't accidentally circle back to where you started. You try not to think about it at night. You lie on your woven mat and hear things, soft creaks, rumbling beneath the stone, a whispering, sound, not wind, not rats. It sounds like the sea is breathing just below the floor, like it's waiting, politely. You mention this once, only once. The scribe tells you it's probably spirits. The priest says it's Osiris reminding you to be humble. Your neighbor says it's the fault of foreigners, Phoenicians. Probably, or maybe the Greeks. Everyone has theories. Earthquakes, gods, bad omens, Mercury in retrograde. Whatever that means, no one says the word. Sinking. Because cities don't sink. Not important ones, not sacred ones, not cities that host international trade and have temples with gold ceilings. You try to keep your sandals dry, it becomes harder. The canals overflow more often now, not dramatically, just a little. A soft lapping over the sides of the walkways. A priest slips during morning prayers and lands in a puddle of sacred beer. He says it's a message from the gods. He doesn't say what kind of message. Some days, you wade to work. You roll up your tunic and pretend the murky water. Brushing your knees is part of the ritual. You avoid thinking about what's floating in it. A fish, a dead rat, a drowned papyrus scroll, still trying to record tax records, and the water keeps coming. Not like a flood. Floods are dramatic. Floods are loud. This isn't that. This is slow, patient, respectful. The city just lowers, or the sea just rises. It's hard to tell who's really moving anymore. You notice the statues are damp now. Even the tall ones. Moss grows where it shouldn't. Salt. Crusts on sacred altars. You wipe it off. It returns. The builders respond the only way they know how. They build up new platforms, raised floors, extra steps, temples perched on stone plinths, houses with ladders where doors used to be. You add another wooden plank to your walkway, balancing like a very respectful chicken over the canal. You don't question it, because no one else is questioning it. The city is still full. The markets still shout. The gods still gleam behind clouds of incense and mildew. It's not sinking, it's just evolving. A merchant raises his stall. A priest holds ceremonies on a new dais. Your neighbor builds a second story out of driftwood and prayer. Everyone adjusts. You adapt. You stop asking questions. You stop trying to fix the things that bend. You just walk slightly sideways and pretend it's always been that way. One morning, you enter the temple and the floor is gone, not entirely. Just one corner. It's collapsed into the canal, taking a small statue of Bastet and 3 jars of date wine with it. No, one screams. The priest simply nods and marks off that section with rope. The gods understand, probably. You start keeping your things higher up. Your shoes, your prayer book, your sense of denial. The rats do the same. Night. You don't dream of gods anymore. You dream of creaking wood and dark water brushing your ribs. You dream of cities with no roofs and shrines half swallowed in mud. You dream of whispers beneath your bed, telling you it's all normal. You wake up damp. You go to work. You offer fruit to statues, who are now ankle-deep in water. No one speaks of collapse. That would be rude instead. They say it's a seasonal issue. They say the tides are unusually ambitious this year. They say everything will go back to normal once the priests finish their latest round of sacrifices. They keep building. One more platform, one more prayer, one more prayer, one more day, not admitting that the gods might have already left. You press your hand to the temple wall. It's damp. You can feel it leaning, even if no one else can. You say nothing. You pick up your mop and you start cleaning. You wake to the sound of water, not the soft lapping you're used to, not the slow tide licking at the walkways. This is different, it's moving. You sit up slowly. Your mat is already damp. The floor is worse. Your sandals float across the room, bumping into a basket of dry figs that aren't dry anymore. You try to stand, but the water beats you to it. It's coming fast, through the cracks in the walls, beneath the doors, up through the floor itself. There is no single breach. It's not a hole. It's a decision. The sea has decided to return. You stumble out of your room and into the temple corridor. The mosaic floor is underwater now, colors rippling beneath a film of silt and panic. A priest waits by, clutching a scroll above his head, like it can still save him. Someone is shouting about sacred vessels. Someone else is already swimming. You don't remember running, but you are down the temple steps, the ones that used to lead to the canal, now a waterfall. The stone is slick. You slip. You hit the ground with your shoulder. The wind leaves your lungs in a rush. Water replaces it. You flail. You choke. You breathe in salt and silt and the last gasp of a city that never learned to swim. Somehow, your legs remember. They move. You find a piece of wood, half a shrine door, still painted with lotus blossoms, and cling. You float past the marketplace. The stalls are gone. Cabbages drift like soft grenades through the currents. A sacred ibis sails by on a broken basket, confused but dignified. You hear the creak of collapsing roofs, the groan of a statue falling, then a splash, deeper than sound. You look up, and the temple is cracking, stones splitting like bark in fire. The statue of Amun topples arms, outstretched, still regal, still indifferent, as he disappears into the rushing tide. There is no fire, no explosion, no dramatic moment of cinematic ruin. Heracleion doesn't fall. It exhales, like it's been holding its breath for centuries, waiting for permission to finally let go. The walls give way with a sigh. The columns lean like drunks. The ceiling opens like a peeled fruit and lets in the sky. You don't scream. No, one does. There's no time. The sea is inside everything now. Inside the streets. Inside the homes. Inside your throat. You spit. It tastes like rusted bronze and regret. A merchant floats past, still clutching his coin dash pouch. A child clings to a piece of pottery like it's a life raft. The temple bells are ringing, not from hands, but from impact. They clang as they fall, and then go silent beneath the surface. You grip your plank tighter. You try to steer. You don't succeed. You drift. Past the docks, past the sunken walkways, past a barge half submerged and still tied to a pier that no longer exists. The water carries you through streets you walked yesterday. Only now the fish walk them too. Statues slide beneath the surface. Offerings still clutched in stone hands. Grapes, incense, folded prayers, all sinking, all solemn. All ignored by the rising sea. A column falls beside you. So close, it sends up a geyser that soaks what little of you remained. Dry, you don't flinch. There's no point. Heracleion is going, not screaming, not burning, just submerging. Quietly, with dignity. The gods go under first. The humans follow. The rats bring up the rear. No one is spared. Not priests, not traders, not you. You grab onto a roof beam still jutting from the water. You pull yourself onto it, gasping, dripping, shaking. You look back once. Just once, the city is gone, where it used to be. Ripples, where the temple stood, a rising swirl of dust and foam, where you worked, bled, worshipped. Now a sheet of sunlight dancing on water, no domes, no flags, no statues, only the memory of buildings, only the taste of salt, only the ache in your arms. You float, half submerged, stunned into stillness. The water laps at your chin. Your breath is shallow, far off. Another wall collapses. A wave rolls toward you, gentle but insistent. It carries a basket of offerings and a cat that's either divine or extremely annoyed. You stop trying to paddle. You let it take you. The sea is warm. The sky is blue, and the city beneath. You is finished, not with a war, not with a plague, just a soft, wet ending, a breath held. Too long. You remember the whispering under the floor. You remember the lean of the walls, the cracks in the shrine, the silence in the god's eyes. You didn't listen. No one did. Cities like this always believe they're immortal, too sacred to fall, too old to drown, too full of trade and gold and priests to ever end. But salt water doesn't care about myths. It doesn't care about dynasties. It doesn't care that Hercules supposedly stopped here for a snack. The sea does not negotiate. It doesn't announce. It simply arrives. You close your eyes. You feel it rise again, lifting you and everything you ever knew, just a little farther from the world that was. Heracleion is still beneath you, silent, submerged, whole, in its own way. Just sleeping now, like a drowned god in his temple, still holding a jar of grapes. The water settles after the storm, after the collapse, after the exhale. The sea smooths over Heracleion, like a mother pulling a sheet over a sleeping child. It is quiet now. No more chanting priests. No market cries. No temple bells. No sandals slapping on wet stone. Just the sound of ocean currents slipping between pillars. Soft, silt-heavy sighs brushing through broken courtyards. A whispering lullaby of salt and time. Heracleion sleeps. The statues do not fall. They rest. Some tilt gently, faces turned toward the surface. Others kneel beneath the sand, still holding offerings that never reached the gods. Amon stands half buried. His hands, once raised in blessing, now serve as shelter for fish. Small schools dart through bronze arches. Octopuses curl inside ceremonial urns. A sea turtle drifts past a collapsed altar, uninterested in old prayers. Moss grows where incense once burned. Algae coats the carvings of gods and kings. The names engraved in stone blur into abstract script, ancient, unreadable, irrelevant. Nothing here is sacred anymore, and everything is dot. The sand moves slowly across the streets grain by grain, year by year. Shrines vanish beneath it. So do homes, staircases, docks, entire plazas swallowed by the seabed like a long, slow exhale. And no one comes looking. Not for centuries, not for over 1,000 years. Empires rise, empires fall. New cities bloom inland, away from the water. Safer, drier. They speak of Alexandria, of Athens, of Rome, but not Heracleion. It's not in the records, not on the maps. Eventually, it stops being forgotten. It becomes unknown, just another name lost to the tide. The sea is good at this. It keeps what we abandon. It tucks away the cities we outgrow, the monuments we can't maintain, the gods we no longer fear. It asks no questions. It demands no tribute. It just keeps, In the deep stillness, things shift. Not quickly, not violently, just slowly. A roof beam collapses. A statue falls sideways, stirring up a cloud of ancient dust that hasn't moved in 1,000 years. Crabs scuttle over royal seals. A pharaoh's name, once spoken with reverence, is now just a scratching post for coral. Some days, light filters down through the water in long, lazy beams. It brushes the tops of broken columns. It dances across murals no one remembers painting. It finds the eye of a forgotten god and glints like recognition. Then it fades again. Heracleion waits, not for rescue, not for resurrection, just waits. It is not lonely. The sea is never lonely. It is full of stories, half buried and half erased. It knows how to hold grief without complaint. It knows how to cradle ruins like relics. It knows how to bury what cannot be fixed, and Heracleion cannot be fixed. Its bones have softened. Its stones have blurred. Its name has faded into sediment and myth. Maybe it wanted this dot to sink, to silence, to stop being the city everyone argued over, to stop pretending it could hold back the tide. Maybe Heracleion was tired. The sea understands, and so it keeps the city, tucked beneath silt and currents, wrapped in hush, undisturbed, unbothered, just there, sleeping beneath the waves. For 1,200 years, and the world above forgets. It begins with a glint, just a shimmer drifting between seaweed and sand. A diver sees it, not a god, not a priest, just a man in a black suit, trailing bubbles and purpose. He brushes away silt with a gloved hand. A face looks back at him, stone, still, intact, eyes half-lidded, mouth gentle. It's not smiling, it's remembering. He doesn't know what he's found yet. Not really, not until they begin to dig. Carefully, patiently, as if waking a giant in its sleep, they find more pillars. From a temple, the feet of a fallen statue, toes worn smooth by fish. Clay tablets scrawled in 2 languages, both of them nearly forgotten. A golden ring resting in a box crusted with centuries. Someone once wore it. Maybe it was you, and they find names, Thonos Heracleion, a double name, Egyptian and Greek, sacred and soaked. You are not there to explain it, but your story begins again anyway. They lift your gods from the mud with cranes and reverence. They catalogue your tools. They polish your coins. They label you, late period, ceremonial object, urban complex of uncertain configuration, and they take you away. Not all of you, not even most, but enough to fill a museum room somewhere far from water, where soft lights shine down on your once sacred things, where school children squint at your face behind glass and wonder how you ever drowned. There are documentaries, now, expeditions, exhibits. You are narrated in calm British voices. Your statues appear in slow pans, backed by orchestras. Your name trends briefly on academic Twitter. You get your moment, but only in fragments, because Heracleion does not rise. Not really, not whole, not again. It lifts a hand, maybe. A piece of a temple, a face, a coin. It speaks once more, but only in riddles, because you are not rebuilt. You are not resurrected. You are remembered, and that is something you are. Now a ruin in someone's slideshow, a footnote in a paper no one finishes reading, a blurry image on the wall of a museum gift shop. But that's all right, because you were never really lost, just waiting beneath the currents. beneath time, beneath everything that replaced you. And now they call you mysterious. They marvel at how long you stayed hidden. They ask why no one remembered you, but you did not need remembering. You needed rest, and the sea gave it to you. Now sonar pings echo through the water where your prayers once rose. Drones buzz where temple bells once rang. Men in flippers measure your sacred altars with plastic rulers and waterproof pens. They are gentle, mostly, but they are loud, so you retreat, not physically, but spiritually. You let them take what they need, a statue here, a trinket there, but your heart stays buried, your silence intact. You are a city half excavated, half asleep, and sleep is all you want now. You drift deeper, not in distance, but in memory. You fade again, slowly, peacefully, back into the seabed, back into myth. The lights of the museum flicker off. The exhibit closes. The divers pack up. The water seals around the ruins once more. You are still there, in the silence, in the salt, a name on a wet scroll, a statue holding an offering no one collects, a temple with no roof and no gods and no prayers, but still sacred because you were loved once, because you were needed once, because you existed. And now, as you sink again, not in fear, but in relief, you know the truth. You are not lost. You are not ruined. You are not gone. You are sleeping. And sleep, in the end, is the only immortality that matters.